So Deidre, let's talk some more about residential energy, residential solar. If I were interested in putting solar on my home, how do I get started?
Well, the first thing you do is call me, and then I can walk you through the process.
Okay.
It's really easy. I would come out to your house. I would take a look at your main service panel, make sure that we have plenty of room to tie in electrically with the system, make sure that everything's, code sufficient. And then I get a copy of your most recent power bill. There's a bar graph on that power bill which shows me what your annual kilowatt hour consumption is. And then I match that with a solar power system. So if your home is consuming 11,000 kilowatt hours per year, which is pretty typical for a Nevada home, then you need to get a solar power system that produces either 11,000 kilowatt hours a year or less, depending on a couple of different things. How much offset do you want? Do you want to completely offset the amount of power that you're consuming, get as close to it as you possibly can? Do you want to just have a really great investment? Maybe you install a smaller system. Maybe you get that, and you can actually even possibly hit your return on investment sooner than that, depending on the way the roof faces. So west facing is going to be your best return on investment with the new net metering, because you're going to actually be using more of the kilowatt hours that you produce. And keep in mind that all of the kilowatt hours that your system produces, they're not all going back to the grid. So your system is designed to, whenever the sun is shining during the day, the panels are producing kilowatt hours. Those kilowatt hours, their first place that they go to is to your main service panel to power the loads to your home. So they're powering the load to your home. If your home is full up and it can't use any more energy, those excess kilowatt hours are the ones that shoot back to the grid. So if you have a west-facing roof, you're going to be using a lot more of those kilowatt hours, because during the summertime when your air conditioner is cranking in the afternoon, you're going to be soaking a lot more of those up. And keep in mind that every single kilowatt hour that your home actually uses, you are essentially getting full kilowatt hour credit for that kilowatt hour. So it's only kilowatt hours that you send back to the grid, which is only some of those kilowatt hours, that you're getting a kilowatt hour credit on your power bill account.
Okay. Let me ask you this. I always wonder about this. If I had solar on my home, then would that financially allow me to run my air conditioning at a lower temperature and have my house cooler in the summertime?
Essentially, yes. I mean, if your kilowatt hour consumption goes up, you'll need to add more panels to make up for that. But yeah, if that's one of the main reasons people get solar, because they're tired of worrying about that power bill. I want to have my house comfortable. I want to live the way I want to live. It's a quality of life issue. And so for my clients, once they get their solar power systems installed, then they can essentially have their home as comfortable as they like it.
Run it wherever you want it. So you can hang meat in the closet if you want that.
Now if your consumption goes up too much, then maybe in a couple of years we look at the power consumption again, maybe add a couple of panels, which is very easy to do. But yeah, that's a huge factor for a lot of my clients.
Okay. I'd like to go back and talk about this cap a little bit. So there's no cap now. So
there's no cap in Southern Nevada.
Everyone in Nevada, Southern Nevada, could put solar on their house if they wanted to. I know that in the past, that 3% cap was a big issue because you had to make the list, if you will, in order to get solar on your home. So everyone can have solar now.
Right.
Is that new legislation?
It is new. It's new regulation. What it is. Yeah. So the regulatory body enacted the new regulation. So now up in Northern Nevada, they've instituted a 6 megawatt cap, but they've used the old net metering. So they say, okay, up to 6 megawatts more will allow people to have the old net metering, and that sounds like a lot, 6 megawatts worth of solar power, but a couple of commercial installations could use that up. So we feel that in Southern Nevada, we can actually install a lot more solar with no cap, with the net metering, the current net metering that we have now down here, than we could if there was a cap. Because like I said, with 6 megawatts, that could be used up like that, with a couple of big commercial installations, and then homeowners are left with no net metering available. So we like no cap with the current net metering the way it exists down here in Southern Nevada. We think we're going to be able to install a lot more solar on homes and commercial and everything else with no cap with the existing net metering.
I don't imagine there's any fear of running NV Energy out of business by putting solar on houses.
No.
Well, good. We don't want them to go
Well,
away.
and they are the ones, you know, that they negotiated the net metering as well. I mean, all of the players were there at the task force, and everybody had input, and they came up to the solution that we have down here in Southern Nevada. And we think it was a great compromise for everybody, you know, and it seems to be working out well. Our installations, the number of installations that we're doing is increasing. So that's good news. It seems to be working. So we like that.
Good, good. How many homes in Southern Nevada have solar?
You know, I'm not sure of the exact amount of houses that are down here with, so I think it's probably around 20,000.
Okay.
Maybe that might be statewide, but it's definitely, you know.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
And it's not just a bunch of greenies out there. It's people
It's not
concerned
just a
that
bunch of
really
greenies.
see it as a financial solution.
It is an investment in your home. Typically, you know, you could pay about the same amount for a pool. You don't get a 30% tax credit on a pool.
There is
and
that.
it does, and a pool doesn't get rid of your power bill; it increases it. So, yeah, a lot of people, I would say more than half of my clients, they're doing this for, you know, for their retirement. They don't want to have to worry about that bill as they're going into their retirement.
So let's talk about that a little bit. If you've got a 6 to 8 year payback, at the end of 8 years we get this thing paid for. What's our utility bill look like going forward? If I retired in 8 years, do I suddenly have no utility bill?
You don't have no utility bill. There's still going to be connection fees that are going to be involved with having a solar power system, but it's going to be a lot less than it would be if you did not have solar. So that's really important to look at. Thousands of dollars you're going to be saving per year on your power bill as after the system is already paid for itself. Thousands of dollars a year for most homes.
And you had a good example, Deidre. You were telling me about your own home that you installed solar, and then you also upgraded your HVAC system with a better SEER rating.
Absolutely, that's a really good point. You know, a lot of my clients, they get their solar power systems installed, and then they start working on efficiency. So if you do that, like what I did, I installed my system about 8 years ago. But then a few years ago, I got a new HVAC system, new air conditioning and heating system in my house. Well, that reduced my consumption by 30%. So I was overproducing solar. Like I was just getting credits on my bill every month. So I wasn't even paying anything. I wasn't paying connection fees. I wasn't paying anything. So that's where I'm at now. And I was able to add an electric vehicle to my house as well. So now I don't pay for gas. I don't pay for electricity. And that's I think a lot of people, it's very inviting. That's a really nice place to be if you can get there. And it's doable. It's very doable.
Good. Well, let's go back to something I try to say probably every show. I work in this field for a long time. Like I said, I've been singing this song since the 70s. I'm just starting to get an audience. It's a three-legged stool. The first leg is conservation. So when you leave the room, turn the light off. So the second leg is efficiency. When you're in the room, power it or use a high-efficiency bulb like an LED or a compact fluorescent. I've pretty much switched all to LEDs in my house. And then the third leg is renewable. If you do that backwards and you design your renewable energy first, your system's going to be too big once you do your efficiency and conservation efforts. So you need to do your conservation effort first, and then your efficiency efforts, and then renewable, and then it's all right-sized. At my house, my highest air conditioning bill ever was $148.
Wow.
And I see my neighbor's bill, they're twice that. And that's because I have a high conservation effort in my house and efficiency effort. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about this, and then we're going to have Stan update us on electric vehicles. And we'll be right back with Shades of Green.